My narcissistic mother turned my life into a nightmare until I finally escaped her grasp. In retaliation, she obsessively tracked me and attempted to pin horrific crimes on me. Her plan spectacularly failed, and she completely unraveled during her courtroom outburst. Additional details. I was at a tavern celebrating my 21st birthday with friends when my mother appeared, dressed in a bridal gown, her hair and makeup styled like a bride. When the cake arrived, she took it upon herself to extinguish the candles, then applauded her own actions. As I got up to dance with a friend, my mother rudely pushed her aside mid-dance and began twirling with me. I pulled away and she erupted into a piercing scream, halting the band. She grabbed my ear, scolding me for humiliating her on what she called her special day. She glanced around, and it seemed to dawn on her how much attention she was drawing. The entire bar stared in silence as the owner physically escorted her out while she shouted. But that was only the beginning. To truly grasp my mother's behavior, some context is necessary. As the only son and youngest child, she always treated me like an infant. She constantly tried to baby me, even into my teens. At 17, she attempted to feed me with a spoon, then accused me of being ungrateful when I refused. She'd manipulate and gaslight me if I didn't comply with her whims. Her behavior was consistently self-centered and controlling. Everything, even my milestones, had to revolve around her. Some called it a queen mother syndrome. She demanded reverence on every occasion, claiming my birthdays were her achievements, even when she contributed nothing. Her other habits were disturbingly unsettling. When she was 45, she began openly discussing cosmetic surgeries like facelifts and breast implants to appear youthful, shooting me strange looks while doing so. My father refused to fund these unnecessary procedures, sparking heated arguments where she labeled him unsupportive and played the victim for weeks. Once, at 22, she humiliated me in front of a church congregation, joining me to receive communion and attempting to feed me the bread, instructing me to chew carefully. Mortified, I walked out. That was the breaking point, and I moved out, renting a small room from a friend's parents for $200 a month. As I packed to leave, she pleaded with me to stay, crying incessantly. I told her I was her son, not her spouse, and I was done with her overbearing behavior. I had my own life to live. She fled in tears, and we didn't speak for months. My cousin later told me she boasted I'd crawl back to her soon. When I didn't, she lost control. Even as an adult, she treated me like a toddler in public, expecting me to play along. When I refused, she'd give me a desperate, pleading look, but I remained impassive. That prompted her to grab my arm and try to drag me outside for a whispered lecture. I always resisted, sometimes physically pushing her away when she wouldn't let go. The final time, she clawed my shoulder, so I swatted her hand off. After that, she resorted to emotional manipulation. At my uncle's birthday celebration, she followed me around, loudly reminiscing to my aunt about my childhood breastfeeding, even expressing regret that she couldn't still make me do it. She gave me that pleading look again. I was nauseated. My aunt, who I'd confided in, was horrified, finally realizing the extent of her behavior. When I refused to indulge her at the party, she declared herself the family matriarch, demanding obedience. I reminded her I was no longer under her roof or her control. To my surprise, several relatives supported me, which stunned me. She shrieked at everyone and stormed out, later bombarding me with voicemails trying to manipulate me. I ignored them all. Before leaving my hometown, I had a girlfriend I cared about deeply. She wanted to meet my family despite my warnings about my mother. She thought I was exaggerating. She was wrong. My mother was coldly hostile toward her, later muttering to a relative on the phone that this girl was stealing her baby. While slicing a cake she'd made, she gave my girlfriend a chilling stare while wielding a large knife. Unsurprisingly, my girlfriend couldn't handle the prospect of such a mother-in-law, and we parted ways amicably. When I told my mother I was moving over 1,000 miles away, she exploded, trying to cling to me and declaring she wouldn't permit it. I pushed her away, stating she had no authority over me. I'd saved for years, bought a truck and camper, and spent 2 years living in it while working a modest job in Northern California. I cut contact with all family during this time. I eventually met someone new and were still together, uninterested in marriage or kids. When I reconnected with my parents in 2016, I set firm boundaries. Treat me as an adult, don't harass my girlfriend, and don't bring up my childhood. Predictably, my mother ignored these rules during our Thanksgiving visit. I told her I was done and not to contact me until she respected me as an adult. She tried to block the door, quoting scripture about honoring parents. I countered that she didn't respect me, so I owed her nothing. In December, she sent countless messages begging me to attend Christmas without my girlfriend. I refused, saying if my girlfriend wasn't welcome, neither was I. She called me irrational, insulted my girlfriend as a homewrecker, disrupting our unique bond, and demanded I come. When I stood firm, she threatened self-harm. I told her she could do as she pleased, but I'd be spending Christmas with my girlfriend's family. She warned I'd regret it and hung up furiously. 2 days before Christmas, police broke into the house my girlfriend and I were renting, suspecting us of operating a drug lab. We were detained and questioned as they tore through our belongings, setting up our furniture outside like a yard sale. They searched with dogs but found only aspirin and my depression medication. The police were visibly disappointed. It turned out my mother had called them, providing detailed information that could only come from stalking us. She claimed my camper was a drug front, likely inspired by too much TV. When the police found nothing, they had to return our belongings and release us. We were livid, but I could only file a complaint for the damage to our rental. In a twist of fate, my mother was arrested during her Christmas party in front of the family. Investigations revealed she'd flown to my state, spent days tailing us, and taken photos of me, my girlfriend, and our home. She'd used a hidden key and a fake rock to enter our house, photographing everything, including my underwear drawer, disturbingly invasive. Police found she'd tracked my work schedule and our routines. Her motives remain unclear, but they likely went beyond scaring me. Update: I pressed charges for stalking and false accusations, but avoided prolonged court time to steer clear of her. The following account combines my experience and my father's perspective. My father was unaware my mother had flown to my state to stalk me. She told him she needed a solo vacation for her mental health, never disclosing her destination. He would have warned me if he'd known. She spent days secretly trailing me and my girlfriend, snapping photos with her phone. She used our hidden key to enter our home and documented everything. Back home, my father noticed her smug demeanor, as if she'd achieved a victory. She was unusually cheerful until her Christmas Day arrest. My father said she sobbed, insisting she'd done nothing wrong as police led her away. The evidence was undeniable. Photos on her phone and a recorded call she made from her own device, falsely accusing me of drug dealing. When confronted, she broke down, pleading. She went limp, refusing to move, forcing police to carry her. No one bailout her out. She used her own money to get released, realizing I wouldn't help after her actions. She didn't flee, believing she could convince a judge of her righteousness. Her lawyer urged a guilty plea, but she fired him to represent herself, a disastrous choice. The trial came quickly. My girlfriend and I flew in to testify, but left as soon as possible. My mother alternated between pleading and furious stares during my testimony. On the stand, she ranted about needing to discipline me for choosing my girlfriend over her, claiming she was the only woman I needed. The judge repeatedly told her to stop staring at me. I left before sentencing. The judge deemed her mentally unstable, but when he said so, she insisted she was perfectly sane, which only worsened her image. She argued she was just a devoted mother teaching her son a lesson. My father testified that she treated me like a surrogate husband and framed me unjustly. She lashed out at him, requiring guards to intervene. Initially, the judge considered leniency but sentenced her to 2 years in prison due to her outburst. She threw a tantrum, pounding her fists and wailing like a child, needing to be carried out. My father described the 2 years without her as peaceful, deciding to divorce her the day she returned. He served her papers immediately and left, moving his Airstream trailer to a friend's property. The divorce was contentious. My mother fought to prolong it, but more disturbing truths emerged. My father moving to my state with his trailer. He gave her the house to ensure a clean split, as he wanted nothing to do with it. The court ruled no alimony was owed since both were retired. He now lives happily on the coast, sipping tea and watching the ocean. During her imprisonment, I reconnected with family, who apologized for not intervening sooner, especially my father, who tearfully expressed regret. In the divorce, my sisters and relatives testified about my mother's behavior, some providing recordings of her disturbing comments. It also emerged she'd cheated on my father multiple times, with several men providing evidence. The judge refused to let her delay the divorce, and her lawyer advised her to settle to protect her pension. Now, my mother lives alone in the old family home, shunned by most. She's reached out claiming she's in therapy, but I told her it's too late. Her actions have consequences. She cried and hung up. I haven't spoken to her since.